You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 5th day of June, 2019. Thanks so much for joining us. So glad to have you here, whoever you are and wherever you are. We're just glad you're right here, right now. It's a great day to be alive, right? Great day to be a trader, right? Great day to be a believer. Oh yeah, always a good day for that. So, I'm here, you're here. What do you want to do? Tell you what, if you can't see the chart I have up, which is the S&P 500 E-mini daily chart today, okay? Go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, you'll see a big microphone. If you click that, follow the instructions, you'll be registered in about 30 seconds. And that will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. The charts, the chat box, the discussion, it's all yours, just a click away. Now, there will be days when you find yourself out of the office, away from the desktop. Not to worry. grab an internet connected device, point it to youtube.com/CFRN/live, and there you will find us, a live, real-time simulcast of the show as it happens, brought to you by the good folks at YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. All right, daily chart, S&P 500. What do we got? Been watching the show for any length of time, you know what's up. We had a bearish cross, price pulled away, price pulled back to physically touch the BBC, which just stands for bull bear cross. When price is above this green line, the BBC, we're bullish. And when price gets below, we sing a different tune, bearish. Okay. Now, you'll notice on this chart, this is a daily chart, so we don't see as many pullbacks on a daily chart as we see on intraday charts and smaller time frames. But as you can see, price pulled back here to the BBC. We had a big leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement. This time it didn't hold. So that began a march in a different direction. A leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement, and here we sit, knocking on the door of the BBC. What is the next high probability move for the market to make? Excuse me. Now, does that mean that's what the market's going to do? Well, I can't answer that. Because in order to answer that, one would have to be able to know the future. You know, like Gene Dixon or someone like that. Now, I know you get a lot of emails, and you've probably been to a lot of websites where those individuals, that vendor, whoever they are and whatever they do, and however they do it, the wording on the web page or in the email that you receive would kind of lead you to believe that this individual, the web page that you're on or the email that you received, it would appear that they, unlike everyone else, they actually do know how to tell you what's going to happen next. It's all very clever, right? But at the end of the day, it just kind of makes you want to take a shower because it's not true. Now, weatherman, nightly news. What does he do? Does he come out and tell you what's going to happen tomorrow? Well, he tries to. You know, he does analysis as best he can, went to college, has a lot of expensive equipment, some Doppler radar. What he does is he gives you his highest probability of what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, a good weatherman, an honest weatherman, is going to tell you, I can't predict the future, but I can tell you what the highest probability thing is tomorrow, whether you need an umbrella or not. So in trading, you've been down the path, you've read the emails, you've been to the websites, you've been promised so many things. How's that working? I know, it's not. Don't feel bad, we all go through it. We've all been through it. We've either been through it or we're going through it, right? So let me just do what do they call those? A PSA, a public service announcement. Okay. Anyone that tells you that they can predict the future in any area of your life, and in particular, we're talking about trading right now, you'd be well served to just let it go in one ear and out the other. okay? No matter how powerful the argument or the quote-unquote evidence that's presented in the way of historical charts, okay? They're trying to convince you that they can tell you what's going to happen next, and when what's going to happen next, be it the next 5 minutes, the next day, doesn't matter. Well, it's unknowable. There's a term, unknowable. Okay. So we make a point trying to shoot straight and look in the eye and be real honest. And I tell every new person, the first time we meet, have a mentoring session, whatever the case might be, I'll talk on the phone. I'm very upfront. I tell them, yes, we can teach you how to trade the S&P 500 Emini Futures. However, we don't know what's going to happen next. That's probably not a real good sales pitch, huh? Because to the uninitiated, they would go, wow, is this guy crazy? He wants to be my teacher, but he tells me that he can't tell me what's going to happen next. Well, I can't, but I can tell you the truth. And the truth is, no one can tell you what's going to happen next. Now, there's a lengthy explanation behind why no indicator, oscillator, not man nor machine, nor angelic beings. Here's the thing. Think about a big round table, maybe like a poker table, right? And every trader in the world is sitting at that table, ready to trade, okay? Now, at this table, it's a madcap cast of zany characters. You'll have retail traders, you'll have institutions, you'll have hedge funds, well, you name it, and you got a seat at the table. Okay, having a seat at the table really costs you nothing. You got to have some money in an account, right? If you're going to be part of what's called the order flow. Now, in order to know what's going to happen next, you would have to know what every one of those people sitting around that round table, and it's a big table, right? Because we're talking all the traders in the world, because every trader in the world has the ability to shift the market. Not intentionally. It's like the hummingbird in Brazil kind of a thing. Can that cause an earthquake in Seattle? Well, depends upon where that particular order from that particular trader, the size of it, and the timing of when it hits the order flow. Okay? Now, if I knew what every one of those traders were thinking, and they promised me that they wouldn't change their mind, that they would just do what they're thinking about right this very second, I would take all that information, I would collate it, stratify it, you know, the stuff you do with data. Maybe some columns, a nice pie chart, that kind of thing, right? Now, markets move pretty fast, especially during the day session. So I know what every trader in the world's thinking. They promise they're going to follow through with, you know, whatever the thought is that they're holding in their mind right now. I got to organize it. I got to look at the order size. Okay, this guy's going long. This one's going short. This guy's trading one contract. This guy's trading 1,000. Okay, it's going to take a lot of calculations, so I've got to move quickly, right? Even then, it's impossible to know what's going to happen next. Now, a lot of people find that very depressing, disillusioning. So I don't take it lightly when I bring you this news. In fact, I take it quite seriously. Because if we don't tell you the truth, I don't know who will. I had a friend, some of you may have heard of him. His name was Mark Douglas. And he sort of made it his life's work to clue people into the truth, right? This guy He walks into a room, he sucks all the magic out of it. Poof. Yeah. Now, Mark's no longer with us. Still miss him, but Mark's gone. And I'm sure there are others out there that do attempt to share this version of the truth with you. Now, if you've spent a lot of money on indicators and oscillators, and you've spent 10,000 hours in front of the charts, I mean, that's your grind, right? Don't feel alone, because most of us did exactly that. Spent too many hours in front of the charts, bought every indicator, oscillator known to man. Some of us even learned to write a little code so we could create our own indicators, right? But to no avail. So, are we shutting down now since we can't tell you what's going to happen next? Or does that mean we're out of business? No. Quite the opposite. So the fact that we are tuned into that truth, we understand it, we accept it, and we work inside of that parameter of we don't know what's going to happen next, that allows us to actually be quite successful in the markets, even though we don't know what's going to happen next. We can tell you with a pretty good degree of accuracy, okay, what the next high probability thing is. I said all that to say this. Leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement that didn't hold. So now we're marching in the opposite direction. Leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement. The next high probability thing is for the market to move down. Now, how do I know that? I don't have any MACDs on my chart. I don't have any stochastics. I don't have an advanced decline line running. I don't have the tricks or the trend or, any of that stuff. And I'm saying nothing bad about that stuff. I'm sure every one of the things that I just mentioned does a perfectly fine job of doing whatever it was created to do. The stochastics, the MACD, the Bollinger, everything, right? But how many times, and maybe you don't know the answer to this. How many indicators do you have on your chart? How many oscillators? How many of them are indicating and oscillating the same information? It's just been repackaged and it's displayed in a different way. So maybe you got 5, maybe you got 9. Maybe you're as sick as I was at one point, and maybe you got 15. I don't know. Let's say you got just 10. Now let's make it easy. 8. Pull a number out of the air. 4 tell you to go long and 4 tell you to go short. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sit there, stare at the chart for another 10,000 hours? Now again, all those things that I mentioned, I don't want to offend anyone because you may use one of those. And that's great. Like I said, I'm sure they all do what they were created to do. But none of them, not one of them, can tell you what's going to happen next. Okay? If price were to rip up through the BBC and go back to this resistance area right here at 28.96, would I be shocked, surprised, saddened, dismayed, depressed? No. None of the above. Because knowing what the next high probability move is completely different from knowing what's going to happen next. When you can look at a chart, understand that, and realize that you've stumbled onto an incredible truth that most traders, even when they hear this truth, don't want to accept it. They can't stomach it. They've spent too much time and too much treasure trying to know the future. But it's unknowable. It's kind of like looking for a black cat in the dark that isn't even there, right? So, I said all that to say this. We will take part in the move down. And if price doesn't move down, then we'll take part in the move up. But our narrative will be for another leg to the downside unless price gets back above the BBC, like it did right here. You see this? Price was below, and then it got above. But then it got below. See? All right. We'll talk more about this, and we'll look at the same concept, same idea, on smaller time frames during today's show. But right now, let me just give you the numbers from around the world. These are cash markets, okay? And that's a confusing term too. Cash market. What do you mean? I can't use my credit card. I got to pay cash. No. The S&P 500 is an index of 500 large cap companies, not the 500 largest cap companies. No, there's a strict list of criteria that the board uses to determine who will be a part of the S&P 500 and who won't. Okay? Now, that index is not something you can buy or sell. The S&P 500 cash index, not something you can buy or sell. But people want to, so man created derivatives. And one of the derivatives is futures. And we're looking at a futures chart right now. This is something that you can buy and sell. Okay? All right. Cash markets. Here are the numbers. When you're riding down the road in your car and you turn on a financial station or just a news channel and they start rattling off numbers, the S&P was up so many points today, the Dow was down, or whatever the case, they're not talking about Emini Futures. They're talking about the index itself. All right? Okay. Well, here we go. Starting here in the U.S., the Dow currently up 145 points. NASDAQ up 22 points. S&P 500 up 13. And the Russell 2000 down 5. Is the Russell leading the way to the downside? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Okay? All right. In the commodity basket, crude oil down $2.35. That's over 4%. If you haven't been following crude of late, goodness, you've missed some stuff. Okay? Just saying. Gold is up $5 today, trading $13.33 last. Let's look at gold. Transition. An up leg, a transition. Now, what was the high probability thing from here? Move to the downside. So here's proof that sometimes the high probability thing is not what actually happens. Okay? If you want to know why that was a high probability thing, well, ask me and I'll go over it with you. Okay? All right. In the Asian markets, at the close, the Nikkei was up 367 points, almost 2%. Shanghai closed flat, and the Hang Seng gained 133 points on the session. In the European markets, the FTSE gained 6, the DAX gained 10, and the CAC added 23 points by the close. That gives us a mixed day in Asia, a green day in the UK, and here in the US of A, it would be a green day were it not for the Russell, which is down 6 points. The Russell. That doesn't look too severe, does it? Has it fallen out of bed, as they say? Well, no, I don't think so. Could it? Yeah. And do we know where the high probability place is for it to go if it does fall out of bed? Yes. Okay. So from the low put in, what was that, Sunday night? Yep. From the low Sunday night to the high put in today, right there, that would be 6 a.m. Eastern this morning. Okay. And then it rolled over. And so now we have a 38% Fibonacci retracement. We don't have any water.
A 38% Fibonacci retracement. And now it looks like it's trying to pull back up to the BBC.
All right. So we hit the 38% fib from the Sunday night low to today's high, 38%. And we're bouncing back up to the BBC just like we saw on this daily chart. See, that's daily, 30-minute. Now, which one carries more weight? Well, the larger time frame will always carry more weight. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the show today, too. Just remind me, ask me, and we'll cover it. And it looks like there's a question. Oh, hey, John. No, he moved into a new house, and he'll be back. He certainly will. In fact, I'll let him know that you asked about him. And maybe we can get him on one day this week. He wants to get settled into the new place. It's a long story. He went through heck and high water, getting the new house and getting into the new. I'm not even 100% positive he's completely moved in yet, but maybe we can get him to come on. Just if he doesn't have his computer set up yet, maybe we can do it. We just do it by phone. But thanks for asking, John, and Mike Reed will appreciate the fact that you asked, and I'll let him know. Okay. We've covered the numbers from around the world. We will now go to Michael and get a recap of everything that happened this morning in the live trading room. And then I'll be back with John and answers to all your questions, whatever they might be. Just type them into the chat box. No one sees what you type except Michael, myself, Valerie, and
that's it.
That's it. Edward, if he popped in. But, yeah, that's it. Hey, you know that little minimize thing on my chart? It's still missing. I even...
Is it?
Well, yeah, and what's really... See up here?
I took the charts, I think.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, take my word for it. It's not there just like it wasn't yesterday. But what is even stranger, I guess... I went and downloaded the software again. You know, I just thought I'll just do a fresh install. Did a fresh install, thinking that would just clear it up, whatever it was. But it didn't. So, there you go. Yeah.
That's no good.
Yeah, this is, I mean, in all these years, this is the first time I've ever seen that happen. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that when I was setting it up the other day, I'm pretty sure that I clicked something or did something to make it vanish. I just can't figure out how to make it reappear. But I did find it interesting that that setting, whatever it is, carried over with the new install.
Huh.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's all yours. Take it away.
Okay. I got it. It's a Telegram link, Laser. Hang on. I had it on my clipboard earlier, but hold on. Let me find it. Oh, okay. So you don't need me to show you, do we? I know I had said, when we talked during the break, I had said I would show you, but you got it all figured out. Okay. Laser, here's the link. I'll just send that to everybody. Okay. And that's a Telegram link. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was just reading about it while you were talking, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a big miss. It's huge. Yeah, 2010. Yeah. Yeah, from the anticipated 170 down to 27. That's crazy. Yeah. 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 Well, tomorrow's, not tomorrow, but Friday is a big news day. Friday, we have non-farm payrolls, we have unemployment rate, we have, Friday's a big news day. And if I remember right, let me just look. Tomorrow we have revisions to non-farm productivity, revisions to unit labor costs, trade balance, unemployment claims, and natural gas. That's all we have tomorrow. So nothing high impact tomorrow, but Friday's a big news day. If you look right here, we have average hourly earnings, non-farm employment, unemployment rate. Then at 10, we have final wholesale inventories. And at 3, we have consumer credit. So, yeah, beige book this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Yep. Yeah, 2 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern. That's okay. All right. So here we go, guys. Today is Wednesday, the 5th day of June, 2019. If you've not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage here at CFRN.net. Go right here where it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net, and click on that. When you do, you'll be brought to this page where all we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number, and you can tell us your biggest trading challenge so we can tailor training to you. Hit the send button, and you'll be sent all the information you need to get into the live training room. Okay. Now, today, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. As I said, it's the 5th day of June, 2019. We made 3 ticks in the euro. We made 11 ticks in gold and 18 ticks on the ES. That put us at plus 353 this morning. Today it took 33 minutes and 3 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 144.50, and we took a total of 6 trade opportunities today. So on the month now, I know we're only 3 days in, but on the month now, we're at 688.75. That's over 3 days, averaging 229 per day. And on the year, we are now at $12,452. That's over 98 days, averaging 127 per day. Okay, so let's go look at what we did or didn't do. In gold, we had just a couple of trades. Yeah, we had this one trade right here. Well, let me scroll all the way back and go over everything. The day started off really choppy. You see this? It's really choppy. And right here, there was a momentum short trade. I didn't get into it. The stop goes to break even as soon as you get any profit in it. That would have been a break even trade. There was a long trade here on a close up above this trend line. I didn't get into that one either. If I did, it would have been profitable. Then we had a short trade over here, and we picked up 19 ticks on that short trade. And then we had another short trade right here that I stopped out on. Then we get into the break. During the break, excuse me, there was a shorting opportunity right there. That would have worked out just fine. Then it changed directions. And yeah, it looks like there was a long opportunity right here that came close to stopping out. I don't know if it actually did or didn't, but, and there was one more right here on the long side. Okay, that was gold. Now we'll go to the euro. On the euro, we just had this one trade right here where we picked up 3 ticks. And I know the euro is trending down, but this move right here was during the break for the most part. We missed a short right there. And this was right before the break. There was a shorting opportunity there that would have worked out just fine. And yeah, another one right there that would have worked out. And that was it on the euro. Okay, on the crude oil, let's go take a look at crude. And today was an odd day because we only had one break-even trade on crude. We normally have a bunch. We had crude inventories come out. And the market jumped all over once the crude inventories came out because they're expecting a draw. And they got a huge build on the crude. Okay, Dwayne's responded to those. All right, so there was a bounce off the BBC right here on crude. That would have given a nice profit had I gotten into it. Then the crude inventories came out right here. And that made the market a little bit crazy for a few minutes. Then we get all the way over here and started trending. There was a bounce off the BBC right here for that leg up. It would have worked out nicely. had I gotten it. Yeah, there was. I'm just looking at the short opportunities in here. It looks like they were in here. Where's Crude right now? 51.48. 53.50, I think, is where it should get back to right now. Well, not right now, but this week. All right. And as we progress, the slingshot wasn't giving us any trade setups here. We had a long here that probably would have been a break even off the BBC. We had a break even right there. And then during the break, so you got to look down here at the slingshot and see what that's telling you. It was telling you right in here, well, one, you had dynamic resistance. You couldn't go long unless it was an entry below the MA1, which is right here. And that was it right there. There was another long right here. And that was it for crude oil today. The ES, now we had a few trades here on the ES. All of them profitable. I gotta scroll back, find them all. Okay, this was our first one right here. We picked up 4 ticks on this one. We missed that one, which would have been a profitable trade had we gotten it. Then right here, we picked up 6 ticks to put us at plus 10. And right here, we picked up 8 ticks to put us at plus 18. That got really choppy. Let's see now. See, I'm sure I was waiting for a trend, and that's why we didn't mark anything there. And we had to break dynamic resistance. That's why we didn't mark anything there. Yeah, there's just nothing in here. You see how choppy that is? You can't do anything with that. And then we finally get, come on, my chart's just locked up. That's been happening for the last 2 days. We finally get over here, and yeah, there's just nothing. You know, you could consider a long right here, but I wouldn't, because it's not really trending. The markets are just a mess right now. Okay. We'll go back here to the spreadsheet now. All right, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 5th day of June, 2019. We made 3 ticks on the euro, 11 ticks in gold, and 18 ticks on the ES. That put us at plus 353 this morning. And it took 33 minutes and 3 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 144.50, and we took a total of 6 trades. So on the month now, we're up $688. That's over 3 days, averaging $229 per day. On the year, we're at 12,452. That's over 98 days, averaging 127 per day. 127 per day. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage at CFRN.net. Right over here where it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you will be brought to this page where all we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. Hit the send button. Once you hit the send button, you'll be sent all the information you need to get into the live trading room and start your free trial. Okay, and with that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
Ready I am.
Okay.
Ready I am.
Okay.
Okay, I'll grab the chart in just a second.
John is not out there right now.
I didn't speak to him yet this morning, so I'll just jingle his phone. Okay, and let me get the chart. And the recap of the recap was?
Today, 33 minutes, 3 trades, $144.50.
That's a good bingo.
It is.
Okay, all right. I jingled his phone, so he'll pop in a bit. Now, yesterday we went over, I believe, Concierge Trade Alerts, which I just happen to be on the Russell chart now, but that was the price to go long yesterday. Now, last night, you can get a lot of movement here, so we can run through those as well. But I just want to take a quick look at the Logic 247. You don't know what Logic 247 is? It's where opportunity finds you. The average trader spends 80% of their time looking for the next trade setup. Now that's a big number. It's kind of like the 9 out of 10 traders, 9 out of 10 people who want to become traders fail. Okay, it's a depressing statistic, but it is what it is. And for those who make the cut, for that 1 out of 10 that actually becomes a trader, they spend 80% of their time, on average, looking for the next trade setup. Now, 80% sounds like a big number, but when I put it this way, on a 5-day week, Monday through Friday, 80% is 4 days. 4 days out of 5, looking for the next trade setup. There has to be a better way. There is. Logic 247, where opportunity finds you. When you're ready to work and you're ready to trade, you don't have to play hide and seek with opportunity. You just log in, and there it is. I said you just log in, and there it is. Every high probability opportunity that we're zeroed in on in the futures markets, right then, right here, right now. So that really changes the dynamic of how many hours you have to spend in front of the charts. Now, some people love being in front of the charts. That's home, and that's okay. But most of us, after the shiny wears off, we realize that we enjoy trading. It's great business. We didn't have to spend so much dead time just waiting for something to present itself. Logic 247. All right. We use Telegram to disseminate the information. We are currently on week 44. Right here, as you can see on the screen. And our week runs from Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's the beginning of the week. I know everyone thinks it's Monday morning at 9:30, but Globex starts Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. So we monitor the markets from Sunday night all the way up until Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, around the clock. We're scanning the markets around the world, around the clock, for you. So we had a gap open, hang on, a gap lower open Sunday night, the S&P. Let me show you that. Hey, there's John. How are you, John?
Hi there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's okay. Let me just make a note where I was. I was just starting on the gaps from Sunday. And then after you and I chat, I can stick around, guys, and I'll cover it, and we'll go through what we've done so far this week, just to give you a little sample. Thumbs up means we reached the target. Z's means it never triggered. and the X means it got stopped out. So based on the thumbs ups there, I haven't tallied them yet, but good week underway, and we still got 2 more trading days. But I'll go into some detail after John and I talk. What would you like to talk about today, John?
Well, it's been a pretty big day so far. The markets, after a 500-point up day, we're up another 150 today. We were up sort of about this amount, and then we pulled back. The NASDAQ was up about 50 or 650 or so. And anyway, right at the sort of high this morning, we put out a sell. I just put out a time sell, which I use quite a bit. Just said to sell it. I think it was just sell on any breakdown below that particular time. All issues, including the metals. And we kind of nailed the highs on the metals this morning. The metals were sort of accelerating into the night, and you sort of come in, take a peek every time you wake up or something. And you sort of say, wow, it's up another few dollars. And next thing you know, you're up $20 and we're just touching $13.50. And if you remember yesterday, I said I thought the silver would catch up, and it got to 15.03 this morning. It's pulled back a bit again. The thing is, there's a bank it may be Deutsche Bank, who knows? There's a bank that's short, big time, and it may be Deutsche Bank because of all the deals that are going on with Venezuela.
Well, and it might be Mr. Jamie Dimon, the bad boy of banking.
Yeah. So what I think what's happened is, remember we sort of said, between by the middle of June or late June, probably see the lows in this market. It's all happened much quicker because the Fed comments in the last few days. I think they're laying the groundwork for rate cuts. So we kind of ran ahead of ourselves, both in the market this morning and on the metals. And then there was a sharp pullback, and then when it pulled back, I just hit a cover and reverse for a rebound. And so far we're on the rebound. You can see it from that low point. It was at about 71.60 when we put that cover and reverse out. So we kind of got the downside off the peak and got back in. So the market is stronger than the gold because there's a concerted effort to break the gold down. And it's hard to say whether it's going to go back to 1310, 1300, 1290, or at what point the buying is going to come in again. It could even be here, but obviously with such a huge run up, we've had a 5-day run up of $70, I think $70 or $80, and $70, I think. So it's a very big deal. So I think we're going to see kind of consolidation here, a bit of a pullback. And probably by the time the Fed meets, the gold might be on the up and up again, ahead of a possible big run to new highs off what's likely to be, a fairly dovish kind of a Fed announcement. They basically came in and said they're going to be ready to act accordingly if these tariffs become an issue. And the market just went wild on this news, but all markets pretty much. The coffee, we're basically witnessing, we've seen the first liftoff in the commodity sector, and now we're witnessing the pullback. The grains are pulling back quite sharply today. So we're probably gonna, it's just like you say, every day the market tends to test previous levels. So I think that's what's going to happen here in the next week or two. Excuse me. We're going to get a test of this liftoff in the commodity sector, and you need to keep your powder dry because, for example, the coffee. I mean, it really is remarkable. It was kind of really cold in Australia about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, and then this cold cloud, if you like, went across the Pacific to the Americas, South America, probably hit Brazil, and the weather got cold. Coffee jumped right remarkably. Obviously, it's warmed up again because this coffee is down 7 points now, so it's come back from 105 this morning. And by the way, that coffee got included in our sell. This is the neat thing about, a timing sell that catches all the downers, pretty much, including the grains. So that's a very prescient call this morning, if you don't mind my saying so.
Congratulations, that was good.
Thanks. And listen, you never know what's going to happen, but it's nice to be out and short if it does happen. So and that's what happened this morning with a vengeance. I mean, actually, the grains are really tanking right now, and I think the tariffs thing with Mexico. They're meeting today. They're probably going to try and avoid the tariffs, but Trump is just putting the pressure on, saying they're virtually certain to go on Monday, but that could always be pulled at the last minute or even later today. So all the reasons, for maybe that's one of the reasons why gold's pulling back. They really dumped it. I mean, there's just unbelievable manipulation going on in this gold. They crashed the market this morning, like 20,000 contracts in one hit or something like that. It's a very big order to smash the market down. And the platinum, the platinum is really bothering me because it's the one kind of, well, platinum and the palladium and the copper for that matter. These are the three missing links, if you like, from the gold scenario, the gold mosaic at the moment. We've got gold and silver acting very well, and unfortunately the stocks are coming back now too. But just as you always say, the market gives you a second chance, sometimes it gives you a third chance, and it's given us a few chances in the platinum. But I think the way the platinum's down 15 now, and we're only like $15 off the lows, so it feels to me like there's got to be maybe some kind of a dramatic spike. Maybe we'll spike down on the platinum and then have a failure swing, maybe an RSI, positive RSI buy, or a positive divergence buy, and then that might be it. So I'd be very, very. I don't like buying the weakest, thing in the sector, the weakest position in the sector. No, you always buy strength, sell weakness in this business, but it's a hard thing to do sometimes. But I think you've got to look. We saw, some pretty impressive strength in the platinum come out of nowhere in the last few days. It did put in a very nice double bottom on a daily basis if you look at the chart, and that was a pretty good buy signal. But it looks like that could be taken out just maybe by a small amount, or maybe we'll get down to 8 to 775 or something like that. Somewhere around there is where I'd be looking to buy platinum if it gets down as much as that, because I think the next one of these days the platinum is going to be a rocket ride to the upside, and it may not be far from happening. Given so and the same thing with the gold. I think you've got to try and trade it. You've got to wait for the market to come back here. It's definitely. I mean, we're negative now on palladium, copper, and platinum, which is we're down actually a lot on the copper, which is very worrying. And again, it's a Fed buy signal, if you like, in terms of possibly lowering rates.
Yeah, one of those stop outs that I just showed on the Logic 247. That was copper. We went long and copper went short.
Yeah, look at that SPX. I mean, this is a dramatic chart in of itself.
Yes.
Where, if you remember, we covered literally on those two little baby spikes down there at the bottom. That's about where we covered and reversed. And, took a shot at staying long, and I said buy after hours in the strength. Or into the close. It was the close, that big snapback before the close, and then this huge gap. I mean, that is a very big gap, and then it's kind of an island bottom there too. But this particular structure, I wouldn't bet the farm on it, because this sort of has a feeling it might have got a bit overdone on the upside. If it comes back here and tries to test that gap or something. I'd definitely be looking to buy if it came down towards that gap. Right now we're long at the moment, and we're staying long. But in fact, I'd probably put a stop on the 1 o'clock price right now. So if we go below 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern, that I think I'd probably duck out just for the time being, and then I'd have
Here's
a
the
following order.
daily, John. This chart right here on the S&P.
Yeah,
And so
well, you see what,
we're
remember what we
looking
said
for
yesterday. I mean, look, remember yesterday, Dwayne, we were only like halfway up in that the big green bar of yesterday,
right.
and I said, looks like the three-wave pullback is over, you know, and certainly, and look, it's coming up against your green byline,
right.
too. So, but it might bounce off that first, and you know,
Well,
if it comes back a little bit.
I'm looking for another leg to the downside.
Yeah, no, and it might be a big one. I mean, you look at your arrow.
Be, yeah.
You know?
No, you're
Yeah,
absolutely
because
right.
if it takes out, you know, if it fails like the gold is failing right now, I mean, forget about it. It would be devastating. I mean, that's the thing about these bear markets. You know, you get these rallies, and everybody thinks that they're out of trouble, and then the next thing you know, this is how 87 happened. You know, when the 87 high was about August the 24th, 1987, and it started correcting kind of a lot like this chart, and then there was a big rally, you know, up into September, and then it peaked towards the end of September, and as you know, the 1st of October was down, and it was down for the rest of October, and it was down 25 to 22%. So this would be a kind of a smaller version of that if it were to happen, and it still could happen, you know, because especially if the tariffs do go on for Mexico, you know, they obviously, maybe because it's closer to home and it's a different kind of a tariff than China, you know, and then there's sort of Republican opposition and stuff going on as well. You know, it's potentially more disruptive. You know what Trump could have done instead of putting on this big, I mean, obviously he's got everybody's attention by putting on these tariffs,
right.
but another way,
he's got Mexico's attention, that's for sure.
Yeah, a less disruptive way of doing these right now would be to put the steel tariffs back on, you know, because you know, and maybe leverage those up, rather than disrupt the auto industry and all the different things that could happen as a result. I mean, these people always sort of, you know, I mean, when it's going to cost $1,300 a car, it's not going to cost that for a 5% tariff increase, but if it gets to 25%, it probably would, you know.
Right.
So, and that's quite a ways away, and I think there'll be a lot of pain before that. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a resolution before that happens. So, and
well,
that's
you know,
the big
what's interesting is Mexico has some of the strictest immigration laws that they're anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So how did that all change? When these caravans started coming, it's like they decided to, after, you know, decades of this really strong immigration policy. I mean, you don't be in Mexico if you're not supposed to be in Mexico. Now all of a sudden it's just a free for all.
It's gone that way, actually, and I think the reason is, you know, because obviously they're pro the immigration thing, and you know, because like any nation, you know, they have a sort of a quasi protection over their citizens in the U.S., if you like, you know, and just the same as Russia claims to protect its Russian citizens in all these different countries, like Ukraine, for example, and some of these other smaller countries that are creating problems right now. So, you know, I think they don't want to be seen as hypocritical, so they kind of open the floodgates to their own country, and there's, you know, there's probably so many illegals in Mexico you can't count them today, from all over the place. And remember, the Mexican economy to the rest of Latin America is like, you know, the U.S. is to Mexico. It's not quite the promised land, but it's certainly the promised land to people who don't have work in the other countries. And even Brazil, you know, which used to be on fire, you know, it's coming back, Brazil, but it's a long way from where it was. I mean, Mexico is absolutely, you know, pretty much the strongest economy in south of the border, frankly, you know. maybe Chile and Mexico, and Colombia. Colombia is pretty strong too. But I mean, listen, the Mexico unemployment rate is about 3.5%, something like that right now. So it's certainly an attractive option for people who can't get work in Central America. And by the way, Panama is a really strong economy too. Panama is a standout situation. It's about 4 or 5% growth right now, I think.
I've never been to Panama.
Yeah, Panama's a really up and coming place. It's kind of like the Miami of Latin America.
Oh, really?
In a lot of ways. Yeah.
John McCain was born there, I recall.
Yeah. Panama, I mean, the Riviera, the Panama Riviera, if you like, with all this sky. I mean, there's a lot of money in Panama, remember. There's so many trillions of offshore money in Panama that it's just found its way into the real estate. And you had a sort of a Dubaiation of Panama, with including Trump's tower in Panama, and so there's plenty of money found its way there, and it is a strong economy because the canal expansion was very, 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 very bullish for the Panamanian economy. And just the increased traffic and the revenues. Remember, the Panama Canal probably sustains most of Panama's economy. So it's attracting a lot of expats, because the deal in Panama is, if you live in Panama, if you have a business in Panama, you have to pay taxes on any local business, but all monies that you earn outside of Panama are tax-free, which is makes it a very attractive place to.
This guy on Jeopardy that just cleaned the clock, the Jeopardy clock, and made more money than one more shows, or more daily shows, and I think it was 2-point-something million.
2.462 million.
Yeah, and because he lives in California, he'll end up paying about. They were talking about it on.
No, he lives in Vegas.
Fox.
He lives in Vegas. He lives in Nevada.
Oh, he's in Nevada?
Yeah.
Well, why were they talking about? I saw on, I forget who it was last night on Fox News. They were talking about what his tax bill was going to be, and they figured it out to be about 50%. But Nevada has no state tax.
Yeah, maybe they made a mistake. They might have made a mistake.
Yeah, that's possible. Right, because they were calculating it. They definitely said he was.
I'm pretty sure he's from Vegas. Pretty sure of that. The new girl who knocked him out, she won a second time.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I apologize. This, as I said yesterday, sometimes the tennis players that take out the big ones fall in the next match. Unfortunately, Sophia Kenin fell to an Australian, gal, so she's out of this French tournament. But I wouldn't. I think she's going to be a big deal in the future of tennis after her performance in the previous match against Serena. It's not so much what I was riveted by in that game was, some tennis players are really boring to watch, and some are exciting to watch. And she was definitely exciting. I mean, it was a riveting match from that standpoint, and also from the fact that she was taking down a legend in tennis. And obviously that's always. I mean, listen, John McEnroe was commentating, and he didn't even see it coming. I mean, he was saying, "Oh, Serena's gonna slaughter her," things like that. She's gonna come back. She's not gonna let this little Dell, take her out, and and it kind of happened real quick. For a while it looked like Serena was pulling ahead, and then bang, just all of a sudden the match was over. So as often happens when these titans of tennis, finally fall. So
what were the names of the two that were all the talk in tennis in the 70s? Billie Jean King, was that her name?
Yeah, she was like one of the original forerunner, and then there was Chris Evert, Yvonne Goolagong.
Who was the guy that she played?
Margaret Court. Sorry?
Remember Billie Jean King played the guy, and it was like the big deal?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Bobby, I think it was.
Who won that match? I don't even remember.
He did.
He did. Okay.
I think he did. Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
It was Bobby Riggs.
Bobby Riggs.
Bobby
There we
Riggs.
go. Thanks, Val. How are you?
You bet. I'm good. How about you?
Good.
hello, Val.
Hi, John.
Thanks. Yeah. So, but I couldn't think of that name. You know, this border wall. Did you see the fellow they interviewed yesterday from Fisher Industries? I think he's the guy who's able to build the wall cheaper than anybody else, cheaper and faster. It's the key that he's using kind of prefabricated sections.
Mm-hmm.
So they're able to put them in very rapidly. It's a pretty interesting spectacle, actually, to see how it all comes together. It's kind of mesmerizing to watch. You've probably seen a few video clips of them, but they can get it done pretty quick. And I think that I don't think there's anything in the entire border now that's insurmountable. You know, they used to say that there's places they can't put the wall, but I don't think that's going to be a problem in the future.
What's the story on this shootout at the border a couple of days ago?
Oh, that was apparently there was a. I don't know whether there was some illegals in the truck, but he was going through, and they asked him to go to a secondary inspection, and he tried to run for it, and he was armed, and I guess there was quite a shootout actually there, but he got taken out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that at the Tijuana crossing?
Yeah. That's the first time that's happened in eons. I can't even remember. I think there's only been one other incident like that in probably 20 or 30 years. It's very unusual.
Mike B in the audience, he just mentioned that the Jeopardy fellow, he earned the money in California.
Oh, is that what happened?
Maybe that's why they were.
Because the show's in California, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Mike. And also, Mike had a question. Earlier, you mentioned the 1 o'clock high. I think you're talking about gold or platinum. And his question was, what did you mean by
the
1
actual
o'clock high?
what I mean is the 1 o'clock price. You know, wherever the price is.
Where the price is at 1 o'clock. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So right now we're above that price. Actually, we're 10 on the Nasdaq. We're about 10 points higher. So it often works really well because if you're on a bit of a surge, you can just put in a time signal, and it just saves having to, say sell the S&P or sell this or sell that. It just kind of covers a broad range. I usually put all issues if it means all issues, and I got little tricks that like new hourly highs are important. If you basically we've had a standing order for the last few days since that reversal on Monday to buy new hourly highs on the stocks and markets, and that's worked out fantastic. So, and it's just a real discipline that it takes a bit of time to get used to, but it's very effective. I mean, it caught the gold move up, it caught the stocks move up, it caught the upside in the stocks, but they took even though the market's kind of pulling up this morning, they really reversed. Some of these stocks this morning got reversed very dramatically off the open, and that's just something to be a little bit cautious about, because just like you said, if this thing turns down from here, those early morning spikes could be the highs on stocks for a while. So this rally that we're in right now, I would be I'm happy with a 1 o'clock stop right now, but I might even be moving the stops up.
Then we got the beige book this afternoon.
Sorry, and by the way, just to give you an idea, the day before yesterday, the breadth was 1,000. Yesterday, positive 1,000 average. Yesterday it was plus 1,500, 1,600. Today it's minus. Well, actually was minus earlier on. It was down minus 300-400. it's actually plus 110 right now. But what that tells you is that the market is, even though the market's higher, the market's weaker today because it's just there's not as many stocks going up today as there were yesterday, right?
Correct. What do you make of this these job numbers that came out?
Well, I don't know what I didn't get them. What happened?
Well, it says right here, private payrolls rose 27,000 in May, compared with estimates of 173,000, according to ADP and Moody's Analytics.
Yeah, I think that must have got leaked to the gold market because that's probably part of the reason why gold went up as much as it did in the last few days. You know, if that information got leaked out, you know, it could have been a bit of a buzz around the trading circles. And what it tells you is if it comes in weaker, I mean, that's going to give the Fed, I mean, if you heard what Powell said and the reason why the market kind of really exploded on his comments is he's basically saying, oh, we're the Fed and we're adhering to our mandate, which is maximum employment and minimum inflation kind of thing, and maximum growth in the economy. So, you know, he was almost reacting to this number before it came out, if you like, right?
Right.
And I was thinking of that, you know, because somebody asked me what I think the number is going to be like at the end of the week, and I said maybe it's going to be a shocker. This is before this number came out today, because you know, something's not right. You know, I mean, we had this big sell-off into Monday, and then this, you know, when the Fed started coming out and saying it's ready to go into bat, if you like, that's probably what got the market revved up to the point that it is right now. And it may be, you know, this pullback I talked about a short while ago, you know, may not, I mean, it's probably going to be volatile, you know, i.e. if that number comes out on Friday as a, you know, I mean, God forbid a minus number, that would be diabolical. That would probably send gold up about $40 or $50. But, you know, if it's 20, 30, something like that, or 50, even 50 or even 100, it's probably going to push the price go. I mean, look, when the gold starts getting into a mode like this, it's not like it was a few weeks ago. This is the hard part of, you know, trying to turn from being bearish to bullish. You know, they had reasons to knock the gold down a few weeks ago, but they weren't able to knock it down enough to get this bank out of trouble, who's potentially short, right? And secondly, the fact that the gold suddenly started moving upwards, I mean, that's usually the gold action we've seen in the last few days is usually provoked by some kind of, you know, way out employment number or some kind of a drop in confidence in the economy or something like that. Right. And look, there is a definite correlation. I mean, if unemployment starts rising, that is very bullish for gold. I mean, you can go back and look at every bottom in unemployment and gold, and they often are right in sync, you know. So, and let's face it, we've been breaking all kinds of records for a long time on the unemployment. And I'm not saying we can't go lower, you know, but we might have a month or two or even three of some worrisome numbers. And remember, you know, you've got these tariffs with China, they may be causing employment issues as well. So, and it may impact the GDP too, although it doesn't seem to have so far. But you know, if those two things start going down, you know, gold could easily jump several $100s from here. And the thing is that when that happens, why does gold rally? Because gold knows the Fed has to come in and basically, you know, bail out the economy or you know, re-stimulate it. And they have a mandate to re-stimulate this economy. They're running out of time to get, to cut rates or re-stimulate the economy, because if they don't get started soon, they're not going to get the timing right on the election to have the economy at maximum capacity.
Right now, the Fed is just looking for a reason to cut rates, and the job number today and what we get Friday. If Friday is a downbeat, then that we could see it as soon as early as next week.
Yeah, the Trump has been very fortunate in his. This is a unique presidential cycle because it's almost unheard of for a presidential cycle to have 2.5 years like Trump has had so far. The risk of that is that if something goes wrong and the economy is down over the next year, it's next year and a half, it's a problem for the president. There's no question about it. So and so while it's a dream run so far, there is a lot of risk still to getting through the next 1.5 years without getting beaten up, because what normally happens is that they tend to trash the economy for the first year or two, and then they pick it up in the last 2 years. That's usually a formula for getting reelected, because if they time it right, you go from a misery, the misery hits right at the bottom of the second year. Maybe that's one of the reasons with the midterm elections, and then they boost it up into the election, and that should bring re-elect the incumbent. So this time, while as long as we maintain, the difference this time is because the going from misery to joy, to prosperity is a formula to win, right? They don't, because we've been kind of coasting along at this dream level, mega economy for a couple of years. There isn't really a misery index in this cycle. So that may be one of the reasons why the approval ratings and things are not as good as they should be for Trump. There's a lot of factors, but as long as they can keep this momentum up going into 2020, and as far as I'm concerned, if 3, 4, 5% by the third quarter or fourth quarter of 2020. It should be, and it could be, because there is still a chance that, remember, at the end of a 10-year bull market, we should spike to the upside. So we should spike to the upside, and we may have a kind of a real euphoric type boom. It's still to come, still ahead. And there's reasons for that, if they can get the infrastructure thing going, and if the Chinese trade deal comes off and a few other things, we could really get a real growth spurt. And remember, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, including a lot of the arms deals that have yet to kick in. There's 300, 400, 500 billion in arms sales that are going to be really stimulative to the economy. But a 2 trillion stimulus, if they can pass that in the next few months, that's probably going to be by that kicking in a year, it could be very, very positive for growth. You could really have a 5 or 6%. And don't forget, we're probably going to get inflation too. So, you could have a real growth spurt into 2020. That's the best of all worlds, and really could happen. I mean, look, this liftoff yesterday, if it keeps going, it's potentially going to turn out to be that 30% up move we've been looking for.
Right. John, do you know anything about this company, Pivotal Software?
No, what happened?
I don't know. I've been seeing it in the news here the last couple of days. I'm not familiar with it, have no idea what they do. But they're talking about it an awful lot, so I guess it's pretty widely followed. But they had earnings and, well...
Yeah, do you see the way the oil came back this morning? Remember what I said to you after Memorial Day? It's not a good idea to be short oil. And sure enough, boy, this oil is really, look at the main chart. I mean, it's come back dramatically.
Okay. Right, this is a 30-minute chart. So at the low, we were down, 50.60. Now we're back up 51.73.
Yeah.
At one
It
point,
might
we were
have
down
done-
over
might have-
4%.
It might have done it today, but it's certainly, if you look at it, it's come down like substantially in the last. Look at that.
Here's daily.
Yeah.
Below, we anticipate lower prices.
That's
above,
very
higher prices.
very painful for Venezuela as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of a resolution to this Venezuela thing that just comes out of nowhere in the next week or two.
These people have been suffering for too long.
Yeah. There was a report out recently, the Russians have kind of pulled out. So maybe there's some kind of negotiation going on there for this guy to bow out gracefully.
Well, Russia and China there was an article out today. They're hailing the unprecedented ties between Russia and China as U.S. relations sour. Did you watch any of that Democratic convention, or did you see any of the sound bites from it?
I saw some of the sound bites.
This past weekend. The one guy,
nauseating.
the one guy who is a conservative Democrat, I guess. When it was his turn to speak, and I don't remember who it was, and I saw this on Fox News. I didn't watch the whole thing on Saturday, but he said, we don't want to become a socialist economy, and they booed him.
Oh, that was Hoopenlacker. That was, yeah, I saw that.
They booed him. I mean, do they understand what socialism is? I mean,
it's crazy. This is part of the problem of this whole economic cycle. Everybody's gotten real soft, and it's a totally inexplicable kind of development. The softness is like this handouts, and this is what the Dems are trying to do. Look, this woman they got on Fox News, Donna Brazil, she's like a Trojan horse. I don't know why they ever let her on Fox News. I mean, all of a sudden, I just happened to catch the Cavuto this afternoon, and he's as left wing as they get anyway, and she's saying, she's pulling this stunt about the Russians swung the election for Trump. I mean, that's just asinine to even imagine. It's just so off the charts, and they're trying to set it up because they want this today to say the same thing. It's going to be their excuse for not winning in 2020. You can just see the whole thing, and they just keep running off this. And I mean, I'm telling you, look, if all the stuff is revealed, I mean, if they can prove that all these intelligence agencies were wrong and that the Russians didn't get the emails, I mean, Trump's going to look like a genius, and the Democrats are going to be absolutely demolished. I mean, the reports are coming out now. CNN and MSNBC ratings are really are down. I mean, they're laying off hundreds of people. They're in a lot of trouble, and it's amazing that these guys on CNN can go out there with a brave face every night as if nothing's happening. And I mean, they're probably in danger of losing their shows and things. Some of these people, because everybody's tired of it. They've had it. I mean,
it's all
you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool them all the time.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, these Russian indictments, if they turn out to be that they were picked out of the phone book in Moscow, which is, or some sort of military listing or something. I mean, the whole thing is a scam, a sham. And then you've got Mueller has made changes, to texts and things, and they allegedly deleted 19,000 texts between Page and Strzok. I mean, this is just, it's just rotten to the core. It's sickening, the whole thing. And there's a lot of stuff. Maybe now this Steele guy has agreed to be interviewed. Maybe a lot of stuff's going to come out when he's maybe he's going to throw some people under the bus.
This Rachel Maddow, she was so full of venom and vitriol every night when she would come on, and just the same rant over and over and over. And now, well, is she even embarrassed by the fact that she got it completely wrong?
Well, that's the trouble.
Nothing right?
There's no shame. There's no shame with any of these people. You know, they just barrel on the same old garbage every day. You know, same old. It's just horrible. And you know, then Trump put on a fantastic performance over in Europe, and they still, you know, beat him up every day. You know.
Laura Ingraham is going to interview Trump one-on-one tomorrow. I don't know when.
Did you see this morning? Piers Morgan had some interviews with Trump, and if you go to Good Morning Britain at GMB on Twitter, you'll be able to watch those clips. There's some pretty good clips in there. It was a good interview.
3 memorable moments from Trump's interview with Good Morning Britain. This is Piers Morgan. He's a bit left of center, isn't he?
It is a bit, but he's obviously, you know, because of The Apprentice, he's I mean, he got the world exclusive with Trump. You know, nobody else got the interview with him except the Sun before the deal.
Yeah, here's the tweets you're talking about, I think, right here.
Yeah. They gave him a Winston Churchill hat, so.
That's good. Oh, interesting.
That says it all, I guess.
Never know what you'll find on the internet. Okay. Anything else you want to cover?
No, listen, thanks very much for the invite, and have a great afternoon. Thanks a lot.
All right,
Bye-bye.
talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. We were right here, and we'll bounce back there. Stand by. Okay. So, going back to Sunday night, we had a gap lower open right here. Sunday night. This was Friday's close, Sunday night open. I'm sure you know that our policy on gaps, on the indices, futures, almost always close. And they almost always close pretty quickly. So we had to wait a while for this one, but now the ES gapped, the Dow, everybody participated in that. There's the Dow and the Russell right there, and the NQ right there. I always call that my Sunday night gift, because when the markets gap, either gap higher or lower, I'll just say it one more time and that's all. S&P, Dow, Russell, NASDAQ, they almost always close. And as you can see, it did. So we had a gap fill alert, logic 247 for the S&P, for the Dow, for the Russell, and on this one for the NQ. Got a PT on that because it didn't make it all the way to 71.34. Made the first target, but the second target was left longing. What was that swing high? 71.32.50. 71.32.50. And our final target was 71.34. So we missed the second target by 1.5. And then we had a short on the S&P. That worked out well. This Dow never triggered. This Russell never triggered. This NQ was unceremoniously stopped out. This Crude never triggered. Now we roll into Monday, along the S&P, along the Dow, another PT on Crude, made the first target, and didn't quite make 53.60. Okay, so that was on the 3rd. And again, that was 53.30 to 53.40 to 53.60. And the swing high was, what was it, that move? It was it that move? No. Here, let me look at the time. $7:31 on the 4th. Oh, it was on the 4th. Okay, so on the 4th at, now it's that 7:31 p.m. Telegram reads your computer's clock. So on my computer, it's going to display Pacific time. If you look at the same Telegram feed on your computer and you're on the East Coast, and your computer clock is set to East Coast time, then you're going to see it in your time. So 10:30 on the 4th, just when that went out, which is 22:30 on the 4th. Yeah, I remember that. 53.41. And this high only made 38. So that's what happened with the Crude. Caught the first target, not the second. Copper stopped out. It's twice this week on copper, I believe. Then we had a long on the S&P from 28.05 to 28.10, and a long on the Dow from 25.350 to 25.390. This Crude, I'm sorry, this gold never triggered, so I guess we'll go ahead and label that. Let's see. So short 1327 to 1326. I got this on a daily. Let's go 30 minutes. There we go. Okay. So the 4th. Yeah. Okay. So we were looking for it to break down, and it did not. Right in here. Never got down to 1327, although we may still see it. Bruce, that's a heck of a word there. Bruce said that no country's news is more mendacious than Britain's. Really? Okay. Mendacious, it's a real word. Not telling the truth, lying, untruthful, dishonest, deceitful, false, insincere, disingenuous. Yeah, you get the idea. All right. I'm going to add that to my vocabulary. Mendacious. Okay. And then I had another S&P, another Dow, another NQ. All those hit their target. This one, we could label it right now as a no trigger, but I mean, everything that pointed to a high probability down move is still in place. So we'll let that sit there and gel and see what price does. Price starts to head back up, and we'll go ahead and mark it as a no trigger. And here's an S&P long, another Dow long, another NQ long. Those reach their targets. This one here on the Russell, on a pullback to 1506, consider being long 1508 to 1510, trail if possible. That thing pulled back just enough to do some damage. Pulled back to, on a pullback to 1506. And here's the pullback to 1506. And on this next candle, it ran up to 1508.50. And it said to, on a pullback to 1506, go long at 1508. So we were like 2 ticks over the line, and that resulted in a stop out. Here's another long in the S&P, 28.17 to 19 to 23. And that was this morning, and I think the high was at 21.25. Let's see. This move. Yep, 28.21.75. So we were a point and a tick off hitting the second target on this one, so that's why it says BT. And then long on the NQ, trail if possible, long the Dow. And that's our week so far. Today's Wednesday. We still have 2 days ahead of us, and they could be 2 very active days, especially with the news, the employment numbers that we have out coming out Friday, non-farm payroll. So what are we looking at? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I don't know if I counted those right. I'll have to redo it or recount them later, but 16 hit their target. The ones that don't trigger, we don't really factor those in. And so we've had, since the week started Sunday night, we have had 1, 2, 3 that were stopped out. Where's my pen? Okay. So what that means is $16 of the alerts this week have been stopped out. Last week was, I think, one of the dodgiest weeks we've had. It dipped down into the 60s. Now, there have been weeks we were up in the 90s, on what ran to target. But, yeah, last week was just one of those weeks, not going back to the drawing board. Because that's the truth about trading. It will happen. Trades will get stopped out. So, our benchmark average over the past 44 weeks plus the beta test, which was 2 or 3 weeks, it's held pretty steady around, the average is held pretty steady around 20%. I think I'd be a little generous, but 20% of the alerts are getting stopped out. Okay, so there we have it. A walk through Logic 247. And tomorrow we'll do the Concierge Trade Alerts again. The S&P Concierge last night never triggered. Oh, let's see if the Dow did. Yes, it did. 25,450. It was right here, 25,450. Well, it would just be rude to not say important prices, important areas are almost always tested. 25,450. So we ran up to 524. So 450 to 524. That's like 70 Dow points. Back below the trigger, did the same thing again. Back below the trigger, did the same thing again. One alert. 1, 2, 3 great opportunities. Now, let me say this. When you see the recap for the Logic 247, we only recap the first trigger. Now, sometimes the first trigger will get stopped out. The second and third trigger might go on to do incredible things, hit the final target, and then just keep running, right? But it's really confusing to try to recap all of that and explain it. So, if we have an alert and the first trigger stops out, no matter what kind of home runs the ensuing triggers off of that same alert, same price brings, we call it a stop out. And otherwise, it just gets too confusing. On the Russell, last night, we were looking to be long at or above 1515. And the swing high was just 1660. Nothing to write home about there. On the NQ, what were we looking at on the NQ? No trigger. No trigger at all. 1336 on gold. So that would be right here. So remember, we had a short on the Logic 247 that has not triggered. And then we had this long on the Concierge Trade Alerts, and we went from 36 up to 49. So that's 13 points. Gold pays $100 per point per contract traded. So that, for the one contract trader, that's a $1,300 per contract move. Price has now gotten back below the trigger. So one of two things will happen. We'll trigger again off this long alert. Our price will fail. And if we leave that short out there, it potentially will trigger. And what else? Soybeans. We say it came so close to that $9 target. And I don't think it's over yet. So we'll continue to watch it. Last night on soybeans, I said to consider being short 876. So 876. That's going to be right here. So from 876 down to 872.50. Soybeans pay exactly the same as the S&P. $50 per point, 4 ticks to a point. $12.50 per tick. So from 76 to, oh, that's 3 points. Back above the trigger, 2 points. Back above the trigger, 2 points. Back above the trigger, and from 876 down to 869. So again, important prices, important areas, almost always tested. Good word for the day. We pick up where we left off yesterday, talking about different ways to pray. I think most believers, some believers, struggle with prayer. We know it's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to read the Word and pray. Read the Word and pray. Read the Word and pray, right? That's what we do. And sometimes we don't read as much as we feel that we should, and we don't pray as much as we know we need to. So, Isaiah 37:14, Hezekiah received the letter from the messengers and read it. Then he went up to the temple and spread it out before the Lord. Might as well come clean with him because he knows everything anyway, right? Hezekiah, king of Israel, received a threatening letter from a much more powerful king, the king of Assyria. The Assyrian potentate demanded unconditional surrender and told Hezekiah not to trust God. The letter was graphic, warning that resistance meant the Israelites would have to, I'm quoting the good book, eat their own excrement and drink their own urine before they died. Did you know that was in the good book? You can check it out, 2 Kings 18:27. So, after receiving the letter, Hezekiah went to the temple and laid it out before the Lord. And then he prayed. And you can read this prayer in Isaiah 37:16 and 17. God of Israel, enthroned between the cherubim, you alone are God over all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Give ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see. Basically, Hezekiah was saying, God, would you read this? And please do something about it. We got a little bit of an emergency here on planet Earth. And God did. Indeed, what he did was spectacular. We read in Isaiah 37:36, then the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all these dead bodies. So, maybe you've received a letter, a message, a missive, a knight in white satin, a phone call. If you could, and you can, what piece of paper would you like to spread out before the Lord the way Hezekiah did? Now, remember, he had been told that they were going to eat their own excrement and drink their own urine before they died. Trouble on planet Earth, God, help, right? And God was there. Hezekiah asked. God was there. So, what piece of paper would you like to spread out before God? A financial statement that's overwhelming? A divorce decree? a medical diagnosis, an angry email, any piece of paper that causes you stress can also be an invitation to prayer and a candidate to be spread out before the Lord. If it's important to you, it's important to Him. If it's important to you, it's important to God. Now, you might say, I've never done anything like that before. Try it. Why not? Give it to God. Trust Him. And watch how He works things out for you. That's our good word for the day. And that's going to do it for today. Oh, by the way, there is no Crypto Portfolio Builders meeting tonight. There'll be an emailed update. We will resume class again next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.